We learned today that LSU got a commitment from Kerry Gee. And I hope I'm saying his name right. I was saying Kyrie. Shea Dixon came on with us earlier. I think he called him Kerry. It's Khari is how he spells his name. Gee. Kerry Gee. He's a 4-star safety out of the Atlanta area. Picked LSU over Clemson. He had narrowed his list down. He didn't really fool around. He narrowed his list down to LSU and Clemson. And today on Monday, picked LSU. 6'3", 185. Had interest from major programs. Auburn, Georgia, Oregon, Florida, all the big ones. Ultimately picked LSU, raved about the job that Bill Bush did in recruiting him during this whole shutdown and throughout the entire recruiting process. And you're talking about a guy that's a highly touted guy. Number 18 safety prospect in the country. Number 337 overall. So LSU now has 11 commits for the class of 2021. And of the 11, 10 are from out-of-state prospects. The only in-state prospect for 2021 is Peyton Todd, the punter out of West Monroe. So I look at what LSU is doing right now in recruiting, and today adding Gee, and to me, it sure looks like they are building a recession-proof program where you talk about the difference between rebuilding and reloading. You know, every year, Bama, and Clemson's at this point now as well, where they lose a bunch of guys every year to the draft. And in spite of that, if it's first-round picks, quarterbacks, linemen, your entire line, whatever it is, they continue to be projected at the top of the polls and the top of the Vegas projections every year the following, regardless of who they lose. And I think what we're seeing right now from LSU is they are building a program in that manner. A program that, as I'm calling it, is recession-proof. No matter how many guys you lose to the NFL in a given year, when coaches turn over, you're able to withstand that because of how you've built your program. Let me explain what I mean. Because LSU right now is cherry-picking the best players in the country, it doesn't matter if Louisiana has a down year. When you can cast a national net and every year sign a class that includes all 4- and 5-star guys that's routinely a top 5 class in the country, you're building a program that doesn't have a roster that doesn't have holes in it. That's roster management. In 2019, Louisiana was loaded. The class of 2019. Louisiana, it was a massive year for the state. Derek Stingley, 5-star. John Emery, 5-star. Cardell Thomas, 5-star. Dante Starks, some publications had him as a 5-star. Ty Davis Price, Devontae Lee, Trey Palmer. You had 7 players from Louisiana in the top 150 nationally. Throw a rock, and 7 of the top 150 players in the country are within a 60-mile radius of your campus. Incredible year. When you have those years, and then you get a couple of players, the top players in the country from outside of the state, and you supplement, you end up with a top 5 class in the country. I think maybe they finished 3rd in the country in the 24/7 composite. But it was one of those years where you had a massive year in Louisiana. And you had that bumper crop and you cashed in. Happened in 2011 as well. Remember they called it the FAM. And you had Anthony Freak Johnson, and you had Lyle Collins, and you had this Landry and Beckham, and you had this amazing class. All of these national 5-star prospects, all within 60 miles of your campus. You got them all, and they all just said, we're all going to go play together at LSU and try to win a championship. Some years you have those. And when you have those, obviously, when those players become veteran, you got your year to make a move. But what happens in the year where you don't have that type of crop in state? In 2020 was a great example of that. 2020, Louisiana produced 3 top 150 players. You had Kayshon Boutte, Jaquelin Roy, Jacoby, and Guillory. That's it. I'm not saying like that's not significant, but you had 7 the year before, 4 of which were top 50 players in the country. So now you have a year where it's not as bountiful in the state. Well, what do? You go to Georgia and you get Eric Gilbert. You go to California and you get Elias Ricks. You go to Maryland and you get Jordan Tolles. You go to Georgia and get B.J. Ojolari and Phillip Webb. You say, okay, there's no bumper crop in Louisiana. We're going to go nationally and still get the best prospects in the country. So even in a year where Louisiana doesn't produce the bumper crop, our class is still going to look the same because we can go get any player we want nationally and be in those discussions with Clemson, with Georgia, with Bama. The best programs in the country that recruit the best, you're there now. It's not you're in the top 10, but you're really only in that elite conversation in a given year where Louisiana produces the great year like 2009 or 2011 or what we saw in 2019. So I look ahead to this class right now, the 2021 class that LSU is building. Louisiana has 2021 is very similar to 2019. Louisiana has 6 top 150 guys in the country. Numbers 20, 41, 64, 67 overall in the country, then 117 and 142. You got 6 of the top 142 in America in your state for this class. And look what LSU is doing right now. 11 commitments. None of them yet are those prospects I just mentioned. You got 11 commits, 10 are from out of state, and they're all high 4 and 5-star national guys. If and when you inevitably supplement with this elite class from Louisiana, with guys like Mason Smith, who many feel are going to end up at LSU. If you get the top 5 guys in Louisiana, you land the numbers 20, 41, 64, 67, and 117 overall prospects in the country. You add those to the national class you're building, you have the best class in the country. Or beauty's in the eye of the beholder. 1, 2, 3, whatever it is, best class in the country. But what you've done is even in a year like this past class where you were down in Louisiana, you still had an elite class. 2 years ago in 2019, when you had an elite class in Louisiana and you had an elite class nationally. Now you put another one of those. Now you've got back-to-back-to-back elite level classes like that together without holes in your roster. And then you're able to manage your roster by attacking the transfer market when you do have an instance where a guy leaves early for the draft, or maybe this guy transferred, or there's an injury here. You add a Jabril Cox, you add a Liam Shanahan, just to supplement where you need a guy. Now you have no holes in your roster. It's why when we've done this game that we've played where I run through the list of what LSU lost and it seems daunting. And it is. Burrow and Jefferson and Chasson and Delpit and Fulton. I mean, you run through the list and it's like, man, LSU lost a ton. How are they going to be any good? Well, you flip it around and you go, well, you return 3 running backs that were top 10 in the country when they signed. You return the Biletnikoff Award winner. You return 4 guys on the offensive line who've started games in the SEC. A quarterback that was an Elite 11 guy who's waited 4 years for his chance to play. On the defense, you got 4 interior tackles that have all played significant minutes for you. You get an All-American at inside linebacker. You got the best defensive player in the country in Derek Stingley. You get Todd Harris back off of injury. Jacoby Stevens is back for his senior year. And all of a sudden you start to go, damn, they're going to be really good again, aren't they? Yeah, they are. That's what happens when you make your program recession-proof. Not just recruiting good and elite when Louisiana is elite. It's recruiting elite regardless of what happens in Louisiana. And that's where this program is. We played some of that Scott Linehan interview for you that he did with Jordy and T-Bob this morning. Listen to how Scott Linehan, like I mentioned this, the interview, this was at 24/7 Sports. Kyrie Gee mentioned Bill Bush, who recruited him. He said, quote, I talk to Coach Bush every day, and I probably talk to Ogeron once a week. This is a guy who says he talks to who's going to be his position coach every single day. And the head coach at least once a week. So that with that framework, listen to what Scott Linehan, again, outsider, hasn't been in the college game in 17 years, has been here since February, essentially, and amid this shutdown where recruiting has ramped up because it's easier to get a hold of kids. Listen to how Linehan describes being a part of this recruiting staff.
I've never seen a machine like this place when it comes to recruiting either. I mean, we're grinding away, we're coaching, Coach E's got us in there, we're working on, opponents and all that stuff, and then bam, things stop for an hour, and there's like 1,000 coaches walking around this building, handing phones and everything to each other, talking to guys. So it's incredible, and that's why the talent is so fruitful here. To be honest with you, I don't think anyone's I've never been around anyone that recruits like Coach O and the staff.
I've never been around anyone that recruits like Coach O and his staff, and that is how you become recession-proof as a program. And LSU, if they're not there yet, boy, they are knocking on the door.